Please never forget that you are worth so much more than your paycheck. Many of you know I made a pretty big career change about a month ago, and up until today, I've never told anyone exactly where I work or what I did. So let's start there. For the last 5 years, I was a chemistry technician at a nuclear power plant, and I think it's been fairly evident over the last 2 years of me posting weekly videos that there's been some pretty big pros and cons to that job. Two of the biggest cons being the schedule and the toxic and negative work environments. Just to give everyone a quick rundown, we, as in the chemistry technicians, were required to be at the plant 24/7, 365. So to get that coverage, we all worked a rotating shift over and over again. And for the last 5 years, we have been chronically understaffed to the point where for the vast majority of that time, we are going from first shift to second shift to first shift to third shift and repeat first shift, second shift, first shift, third shift for 7-day stretches. And given that we were short-staffed, it wasn't always a great opportunity to take a vacation. On top of that, it was a pretty stressful job. Not every day, but it certainly could go from 0 to 100 real fast. And when you add that into a toxic and negative work culture where literally everyone's miserable there, it's just really overwhelming for those people out there who absorb emotion and absorb negativity, absorb their surroundings, and really internalize that. So I think it goes without saying that the job played a huge factor in not only my mental health, but also my physical health. With a constantly rotating schedule, it's really hard to get on a normal sleep schedule. My circadian rhythms were non-existent, and my gym schedule was just touch and go all the time. Now, of course, to go along with the cons, there was a big list of pros as well. I really genuinely enjoyed working with a lot of the people there, and I do miss them dearly. But I think the biggest pro for me was financially. I went from making $36,000 a year at the job before that to suddenly making 6 figures. And that jump was astronomically impactful for me. I was able to pay over $140,000 towards my debts the first 3.5 years there. I was able to buy my first rental property, and I was able to save up another $30,000 or so by the time I left, which is the most money I've ever had in my life. And all of that progress was straight from my income. No windfall, no inheritance, no lottery winnings, nothing like that. Just absolute diligence of paying myself first every payday, putting huge chunks towards debt, and mindfully operating from a budget every single month. And throughout that 5 years, I was really intentional about not letting lifestyle creep impact me. The job was such a financial blessing to me that it pulled me out of a hole that I was afraid I was never going to get out from under. But in reality, my mental health was deteriorating. My physical health was so at best, just because of the constant changing schedule and the stress eating. And my sleep schedule, my sleep patterns it wasn't a thing. It did not exist. And the toxic negativity environment that I just kept internalizing and just it wore me down. If you've been following my story for a while, you know it was my intention to try to stay there until the end of 2025. That was kind of my goal for being completely debt-free and being able to walk away from that job and just feel like I could start life on a completely fresh slate. Now, as much as I did pay off 6 figures of debt, I still do have $160,000 of student loan debt. And I was really wanting to stay at that job until that was completely gone. But ultimately, I could tell I just wasn't gonna make it that long, and I just couldn't do it anymore for the sake of my mental and physical health. So about 4 months ago, I brushed up my resume, got a LinkedIn premium profile, and started putting the feelers out there. And within a few weeks, I got really lucky and got recruited for the job that I just started now. So now I'm back in the world of environmental sciences. If you guys don't know, I do have my master's degree in marine biology and coastal zone management. So environmental science is my background. It is something I'm way more passionate about and aligned to, as opposed to analytical chemistry and working in a cement hole with no windows. Now, I am working for an environmental consultant firm. They are global as well as all over North America here where I am. And I am very excited to get to be back doing something that's much more aligned with who I am as a person and the things that I value and care about, which is the environment. And now that the weather's warming up here in the Northern Hemisphere, field season is starting, I'll be getting to work outside and getting to travel, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And in addition to that, I also have a hybrid work environment. So I am loosely expected to work from home 3 days a week and try to make it to the office 2 days a week, which for me, my home office is out of Boston, but I don't live in Massachusetts. I would be commuting. And of course, I will have all major holidays off. At my previous job, I think I worked 3 out of the 5 Christmases, as well as 4 out of the 5 Thanksgivings that I was there for, as well as almost every other holiday. Now I get all major holidays off. I don't have to do shift work. I have a normal sleep schedule now. My gym schedule is so much better. I'm so much happier. I'm stress eating way less. In fact, I'm not stress eating at all. And I just feel so much better. That being said, my new salary is about half of what my old salary was when you factored in all of the overtime and shift differential I was constantly working, which could of course present some financial challenges. I'll have to be way more diligent about sticking to my budget, and I'll be way less aggressive on my ability to save each month. And down the road, it may be more difficult to get a mortgage, given that my debt to income ratio is much different, since again, I still owe $160,000 of student loans. Luckily, all the years I spent broke and living paycheck to paycheck really instilled a lot of financial habits that carried over with me to the last job. So I was able to maintain that relatively cheap lifestyle, avoid lifestyle creep, stick to a budget, and just throw any and all extra money at debt and savings and investing and all of the things that actually led me to today when I was able to walk away from all that. I'm still going to be paying myself first every single paycheck and sticking to my budget, even though that looks slightly different now. It's still the same principles carried forward through the last job and through every job I've ever had before that. Mostly out of no other option when I was super broke, to now I make it a point to live that way so that my future self can be better off in the long run. Ultimately, taking a lower paying job does really push out my timeline for becoming debt-free, but I'm okay with it because my only debt is student loans. I do not carry any consumer debt, and I never will again in my life, I hope. That is something I will try to avoid at all costs. And I plan to use my current resources and income to instead focus on investments to grow my month-to-month income in other ways to help increase my month-to-month flexibility, which will help accelerate debt pay down in the future. So like I said, I left that job, well, it's been 5 weeks now, but it's been really interesting to kind of reflect back and see not only what a crazy time that was, but also it really sucked. But I'm also really glad I went through it. I never really had the goal of getting a big salary so that I could have some huge house and the incredibly expensive car and whatever. Those material items never really motivated me. It was just the societal pressure of it that motivated me, if that makes sense. Which, of course, the societal pressure does stem from those material items. But for me, it was more of like a proudness. I don't know. For some reason, it's just how I translated being a person to be proud of was your income and your accolades and degrees under your belt and things like that. And I think that never really switched off for me until I had that high paying, shitty job. Obviously, not all high paying jobs are shitty. That is not what I'm saying. But I think it's worth stepping back and really assessing what it is you want out of life for yourself. For me, I don't care about material things. The big house, the big car, the big salary, they're all just such a status symbol. And why? But I kind of love it because I feel like also over the last 5 years, there's been this shift away from hustle culture, especially in the last couple of years. We're finally shifting away from hustle culture, and people are really digging into things like a soft life, right? And really exploring what they're passionate about. And there's such a movement of people quitting and saying, you know what? Screw corporate America. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Again, not all corporate America is evil, but it's just interesting. You see a pattern, right? And it's just so crazy to me now that I've been on both sides of that. And I'm so happy for that experience, and I'm so happy for the really financial privilege that last job gave me. And it gave me such a leg up to move forward. It gave me the leg up to even be able to shift back down and do so from a perspective of what is it that I really want? What are the things that mean a lot to me and my life? And to know that it wasn't a six-figure job. That's not what makes me happy. That's not anything that has anything to do with my future, except for the financial leverage and steps up that it was able to allow me to attain. I just really want to encourage you to take a look at your life and really reassess what matters to you. So I'm sharing this story because my whole channel is built around my journey and my story with my personal finances that I share with all of you. And I've made a ton of mistakes in my past, like, hello, student loan debt. And I have learned from these mistakes, and I want to prevent other people from making these same mistakes. Also, I think it's important, this whole career change and assessment of my life and seeing that there is potential for a different way. And I think it's totally okay to do things sometimes that we don't enjoy, to kind of get through them. Hopefully we don't have to prolong or belabor that process and can just get through it, but it happens. And I think the last 5 years was just a season of my life where I was, although ultimately very unhappy and stressed out, I financially up-leveled quite a bit, and I learned a ton about money in that 5 years. In particular, learning that my worth does not revolve around a salary. And it helped me to see at what points in my life could I trade off, make less money, but be happier, have less material items, or be able to acquire less material items, but again, be happier, be more physically well, mentally well. So important. So I'm certainly going to be making more videos about this kind of topic in the future, and certainly April now is month 1 of operating on a tighter budget. So we'll see how all of this plays out in the coming months and years. So if you are new here, you want to stick around, I suggest subscribing. I share every single aspect of my personal finances with you guys and how I will continue fighting for financial independence and debt freedom with a lesser salary, and how I'm making it work. And if you are new here and curious about how I got to this point of having so much stinking debt in my life, I will link a video right up here for you guys to check out. If there's anything I might have left out, or if you guys have more questions about my last job, my current job, how I'm feeling, I don't know, any of the details, certainly let me know down in the comments. You guys have been so supportive and amazing through this whole process, and I thank you all so much for helping make the decision to walk away from that job a heck of a lot easier, knowing that you all had my back and were here for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.